Can I be a little impudent here?
You do, and you clean it up.
Okay.
Welcome, wherever you are, to Outsplaining with me, Ben Baker, and... John's off living his very successful pop star life at the moment, but before he boarded his Learjet to Saint-Tropez, he joined me in interviewing the main man, our very god Paul Fusco, creator, voice, and soul of Alf, both the sitcom and Alf the Alien. It's still incredible we actually managed to reach him after several missed opportunities, and it's all down to John's persistence that we did. See, I can say nice things about it when he's not here. We left the interview last time as we broached the subject of Alf's Special Christmas, a programme we famously hated, but after all these years, what did Paul Fusco think?
Alf's in a 1 hour special. When the Tanners lose Alf, he makes some new friends to get back home. It's Alf's Special Christmas.
It is a very different everything. How do you feel about that these days as an episode?
I think I like it. I thought at the time it was kind of corny. There were things in the show, in the movie, that were kind of corny, that I thought were kind of silly, over the top. But it was based on a true story of a girl that we did with a Make-A-Wish Foundation, Tiffany Lee Smith, her name was, and she passed away. But Alf did a thing for her on Make-A-Wish, and that's how that was the inspiration for the show. And it's a touching episode. I look back at it now, and I like it more than I did back then. But I thought everybody was great in it, and it stands up. I mean, people still like it and still watch it. So
it does seem to be one of the more seen episodes, and it is odd because, again, it's not very representative of the series. Do you feel people sometimes have this idea of what Alf was, but it's not true? You know, like they've either seen clips or they've thought, or they've seen that episode and go, oh, well, that's what Alf was, but it wasn't.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure who the new fan base is. I know I still get a lot of fan mail, and a lot of the mail is from people who were Alf fans, and now they have kids of their own and grandchildren of their own that they've turned them on to Alf, so they could be exposed to it. So, I'm not sure what kind of sampling the fans are. If you're a true Alf fan like you guys are, you kind of know all the sides of Alf. I don't know if they're watching just these little clips on YouTube or whatever and trying to base the character on these little sound bites or anything. But it's hard to wrap your head around it unless you really get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there must be a cultural sticker, because obviously you keep being asked to do stuff with Alf, like you had the Impractical Jokers. Was that last year? That was last year.
Yeah, last year before. Yeah, and Ryan Reynolds is a big Alf fan. I sent you guys that picture.
We've heard. We've seen a picture.
Yeah.
I believe we got sent a picture of Ryan and Alf, and John sent back, what a handsome fellow. Oh, and Ryan Reynolds is there too.
I saw that. Right. That's right.
We'll get him on eventually, but he's less important than you. He's down the list from you by
he's got other problems. He's dealing with. Yeah.
He just keeps buying football teams. But again, I assume that is him coming from his own childhood love of Alf,
right?
Why he's kind of sort of started working with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were told, through the grapevine that Robert De Niro was a big Alf fan, and he did a movie where he was watching Alf on TV. They asked for clearance, and we gave him. So they asked him what he wanted to be watching. He said, "I want to be watching Alf." So that was a little tribute from. I'm trying to remember. I heard George Clooney was a big Alf fan. There every once in a while you'll hear a name that came in and go, "Oh, he's a big fan. He's a big fan." So maybe we'll get a chance, if we have a new venue, to be able to work with them.
Well, I say Alf's nearly had to come back multiple times. What's the closest the character ever got to a full-scale revival?
We were trying to do, Warner Brothers wanted to do a reboot of the show, and I kind of went along with it to see if it was going to happen, but fortunately it didn't happen. I wouldn't want to do a reboot of the show. If I wanted it, we're talking now about bringing Alf back, but we're trying to figure out what the right venue is for him. It wouldn't be a sitcom again because been there, done that.
Yeah.
We really can't capture that kind of magic with Max anymore, and I think something more contemporary, something that looks more like it's spontaneous and sort of like a Curb Your Enthusiasm type of thing with Alf might be kind of fun. So we're exploring that.
Would you want to go in that tone that Curb has? Would you want to go in a more adult direction with it? Or
Well, I think what we were doing was more what our version of more adult would be is what we were doing, but we could maybe get away with more now than we could back then.
yeah, I think that's fair. I think not forcing it.
Yeah, but Alf wouldn't be doing sex jokes or anything like that for the just mere reason that's a cheap shot. You don't really need to be doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see.
We've seen bits and pieces of art that were done for potential films and things, pictures for films. Has that ever been a full script for a film or anything like that?
Yes, there have been several.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. The best one we ever had was written while we were doing the series. It was written by Donald Todd. He was a writer on the first season of Alf. He was very, very sarcastic, very, very, very sarcastic, somewhat bitter man, but very, very, very caustic, very cynical, if I have to use the word. One of the most cynical writers, and he was hysterically funny because of his cynicism, and he was a perfect writer for Alf. He wrote the Alf movie, the first one that we've tried to get, and I still think it's the best idea. It's the story of how Alf gets to Earth.
Right.
It's the movie begins with the day his planet exploded, and the movie ends with him crashing into the roof. And it's just
Beautiful.
it's sort of a Monty Python-ish version of Star Wars with Alf as Han Solo trying to get to Earth. And I'm telling you, it is brilliantly, hysterically funny. And we couldn't get it made at the time because they wouldn't give us the money for the budget because they were saying it's an outer space movie. The special effects are going to kill you. It's so much money, and they allotted us, I think, $7 million for the movie.
Oh,
and
for-
and we
that's
and
an
at that time, that's in the 80s,
Yeah.
and I think we budgeted the movie. We were able. I think we did a budget. It was like the cheapest we could do this movie was like $12 million, which is nothing now. They spend that much money on makeup and hair, and that we couldn't get because the studio kept coming back to us saying, this is a children's movie. It's a matinee movie. It's not going to go anywhere. And we've always run into people that have underestimated the power of Alf. They never really got it.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Burger King people. They wanted to make these dolls and give away, for 4 weeks, they were going to give away X amount of Alf dolls. Each doll had a different character. Alf as a baseball player, Alf as a chef, whatever it was. And that was the record that went with it. And they allocated like 200,000 puppets per week that they were going to make. And I said, no, I said, you should make more. You're going to sell out. And they said, no, we'd rather sell out than be stuck with a warehouse full of puppets that we can't sell or give away. I said, no, we will, if you have a warehouse full of puppets, we will take them and we will donate them to children's hospitals. We'll get rid of those puppets for you. Just don't underestimate the power of the character. Well, they did underestimate the power of the character. And what happened was, of the 200,000 or whatever amount of puppets they had allocated per week, they went through all four characters in 2 weeks. They were supposed to release them one per week, and by the second or third week, they had gone through all the puppets because they underestimated it. And that was one example of us telling a studio or a corporation, we know the character, we know this is going to be a big hit, and they didn't listen to us.
Yeah, because Alf obviously had a ton of merchandise. Was there ever a piece of Alf merch you thought was particularly bizarre?
Yes, the Alf windsock, which
I didn't expect that one.
yeah, and the Alf mayonnaise, I think, was a big one. That was
Wait, what?
yeah, mayonnaise. It was done in Germany or something. They
Of
made
course.
some stupid. It was, but the windsock Didn't even look. It was obscene, actually. And Alf once went on a TV show once, and they brought it on, and Alf said, we learned one thing from this, that I don't render well in vinyl. And there's been a
Oh,
few more, but I those are the two that come to mind.
I've got my bobblehead here.
Yeah. Oh, the bobblehead is good. Yep.
That is very
Yep.
good. Yeah. Windsock.
You mentioned
Sorry.
you mentioned you mentioned Monty Python a few minutes ago, and
Mhm.
I know Alf has referenced Benny Hill occasionally in the show.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So, is there a British influence to Alf's comedy at all?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Oh.
Some of the hippest stuff comes from those origins, I believe. Absolutely. I always loved the silliness of the Monty Python. And Alf, when he's working his best, when he's trying to explain Melmac and all the silly things that go on, very,
Yeah.
very Monty Pythonish. And oh, absolutely, absolutely. And of course Benny Hill for, the slapstick humor and the cleverness with the writing and the double entendre and et cetera. So yeah, absolutely.
I mean, just before we came on, you mentioned a few things I would never have thought of. The two Ronnies and Rising Damp
Oh yes, oh yes,
as
my favorites.
favourites. So were they on PBS as well?
Yeah, yeah. I remember on Sunday nights when I first got married, we would make an effort. They ran the two Ronnies, Monty Python, and then I think it was Rising Damp, and then they had To the Manor Born, and I'm trying to remember all the other shows. Dudley Moore and Peter Cook.
Yeah.
I mean, just brilliant, brilliant,
Mm.
and hip, hip.
Yeah, I can see that. And this is the weird thing. I think Alf did have a hipness. Did it bother you almost that he did get hip? Because obviously when things get cool, they get uncool. But Alf really, I mean, just as I say, where we've just finished season 2, Alf is huge. Alf is everywhere.
I think hip is hip. I don't think hip goes out of style. You could get dated, but I mean, from just watching them recently, we did two or three Donald Trump jokes back then. Wait, Al made references to Donald Trump back then.
And Biden.
Oh, is there really? Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Because it was something about he'd copied Neil Kinnock's speech, hadn't he?
That's right.
That's right. And it was a
Okay.
reference
Biden
to
has,
him
not Alf.
cribbing a script. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just you go, you realise that the same names have been around for so long, and
Yeah.
Alf could dive in at any time and have a great opinion on whoever's in the news, whoever's
Absolutely.
around. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it does make me think. I did come up with a silly question. I do apologise for the silliness in advance.
I'm waiting for the hard questions.
Well, I mean, my question was going to be, if Alf could use a smartphone with his big hands, which celebrity do you think he'd be feuding with on social media? But it feels a bit lame now. You've said that.
I don't know. I'd like Alf to have a one-on-one conversation with Elon Musk. I actually wrote a joke that said on Alf's planet, Elon Musk was a men's cologne.
Yeah, you need the Alf version of Doge, don't you? The cat.
I think so. Let
Yeah.
let him go in there and clean it up.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Well, is there any inaccuracies or misinformation the general media cycle repeats that you would like to address? Because genuinely, we are interested in getting your take.
It's like we do see, you go on YouTube, you put in Alf, and you see all the videos saying, the terrible times that were had on the set, all the dark drama behind Alf. And
Right.
it never seems particularly accurate or
No,
real.
it wasn't. It wasn't. Like as I said, I think there were frustrating times because the show took a long time to make and everything. And but everybody was always so professional, and they always gave it their all. And as unhappy as they might have been with the script or whatever, again, I said everybody knew what they were signing up for. It makes me laugh when I hear some of the cast members saying, "Oh my God, we had to play second fiddle to a puppet, and he had all the funny lines." And I go back to saying, that's what you signed up for. Did you not know that the name of the show was Alf? And that's like, so that stuff doesn't stand up to me. For them to complain, oh, there was a lot of tension on the set between Max Wright and Alf because the puppet got all the funny lines. And that's not true at all. Not true
I
at
mean,
all.
it's really not. And honestly, where we really get some absolutely brilliant lines. As we said, we really do
Absolutely.
appreciate that interaction.
He was one of those people that could take something and make it funny. He make it funnier beyond the page. That's he was brilliant, and there was no ego there that he felt he was being upstaged at any time. Never, never.
And again, it does us good to hear, because I think that there is so much desire for there to be a dark side to every single thing.
That's what sells.
It's to us, it's the creativeness. That is the whole thing that interests us. It's the how the machine is built.
Exactly. I just saw a thing. There was Jerry Seinfeld just did an interview, a sit down interview, and they asked him the rumors about he and Larry David having these yelling and screaming matches, and he didn't. He said, "Yeah, we had our disagreements." And he said, "Well, it was like that he threatened to quit the show." And Jerry said he threatened to quit the show every season, and then he came back. And yes, sometimes we'd have a yelling and screaming match over one word in the script that he didn't like the word, but that's the process. I mean, it didn't mean that we hated each other, and that was the process. And sometimes when you have creatives and there's a lot of tension or whatever, that's just the process. I mean, to want to spin this into something negative, to try to take something that was good and turn it into a negative, it seems to be indicative of what's going on in our society and in our world right now. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody wants to bust somebody for something. Everybody wants to call somebody out on something. It's like you can't even make an honest comment about something without being labeled anymore. It's pretty sad.
Yes, I think that's why Alf needs to rise up again.
You can't explain sarcasm to people. If they get it, they get it. If they don't, they don't. But it seems today the people that don't get it want to take you on and make it a negative thing, and it becomes your problem all of a
Yeah.
sudden. And it's not really fair. But I think if you ask me the one thing that doesn't really irk me tremendously, but it bothers me, is there's a lot of rumors that I died. There were two rumors. When Mishu, the fellow that walked around in the costume, died, the headlines were Alf died. The guy that did Alf died,
Oh, right.
and then the other one was there's a very famous photographer by the name of Paul Fusco as well. And he was a photographer for Look magazine and Vanity Fair and all these, and he passed away. And I get mistaken for the death of the Paul Fusco, the photographer, and also in some of these Wikipedia or online websites, they have actually used his picture as me, and I get pictures of him sent to me to sign, and it just bothers me fact that people think that that's
Oh.
who I am. But and even if you do a thing where you look online and there's somebody that's a responsible journalist, and here they are, they haven't done their homework and they haven't really checked out to see if that's really me to clear the picture. But I guess I've watched the disintegration of journalism happen over the last 20 or 30 years as well. I'm sure you're seeing it in your country as well.
Oh, yes.
I mean, if you really laugh about this, Alf did an interview with Bill O'Reilly, who at the time, he was pretty controversial, very, very right wing, very.
Yeah.
I did the show because my father was a big Bill O'Reilly fan. I got a chance to go on the set and do it, and my father came to meet Bill O'Reilly. But Alf completely went off the page with Bill O'Reilly, and Bill O'Reilly was stammering. He didn't know how to handle Alf. And Alf, well, to start off the interview, Alf is sitting there listening to Bill. You can find it on YouTube. He's building him up and saying, "Alf, it hasn't been on TV in so many years. I don't know. So, Alf, tell me, what have you been doing with yourself?" And Alf looks at him and he says, "None of your business." That's 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 how the interview started. Okay. And in the middle of the interview, Alf says, let me ask you a question. And Bill O'Reilly says, sure. And he says, what qualifies you to do this job? Are you a journalist, or are you a celebrity, or are you neither, like Larry King? And Bill O'Reilly goes off the because he says, I annoy people. And Alf says, well, I've been doing that for years. He says, I could have your job.
Well, I finished my first book,
Yeah.
Catcher in the Rye. I liked it.
Oh, you finished the first
Yeah,
one. You
yeah,
read it.
yeah.
17 years it took you?
Got to go a little slower here. Yeah, the air up there must be a little thin. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Were you tortured by the military?
No, it was a TV show, man. Get a grip on reality.
17 years ago,
Yes.
you're canceled.
Right.
And then what have you been doing, Alf? Where you been, man?
Well, I've been waiting for the right thing to come along. Obviously, this isn't it.
So, yeah, we really tore into him. The crew was laughing hysterically because not too many people get to stick it to Bill O'Reilly. And unfortunately, I got some good jabs in there. And I was after I did the interview, I said to the producer, I said, make sure you leave that stuff in there because that's really, really good. And the producer pulled me aside. He goes, listen, he said, Bill O'Reilly gets final cut on the show. He said, so I can't guarantee anything. And sure enough, he took out all the stuff that made him look bad.
Yeah, what a shocker. Is there anyone who you met with Alf who just did not get it at all?
I did Hollywood Squares with Howie Mandel, and I think he was upset that I had the center square or something. And he was kind of like picking on Alf, and he made a joke, a urine joke about Alf wetting himself or something like that, and Alf called him out on it, and he said, "Really, is that really where you want to go with this? Is that how funny you want it to be?" But offhand, I can't remember anybody that was truly not with it or offended by him.
No, I mean, I assume the leader of the free world would be a big fan. I'm sure.
The current one you're talking about?
Sadly, so.
Well, they both have the same haircut.
I've got the Alf bobblehead there, and yeah, he definitely has the sweep.
If there are any feuds you want to start before we end this, please do feel free.
Yes, absolutely. Or if Alf himself wants to start them,
No, I don't
fair
think
enough.
so. I think
I mean,
yeah,
it's a dangerous time to be starting that sort of thing, isn't it? It's like,
exactly.
you know.
It doesn't get you anywhere.
No.
It doesn't get you anywhere. I've always learned no matter what you do, no matter what side you take, you're going to upset or piss off the other side. So it doesn't. You can't take a stand on anything without the consequences of knowing that you're going to insult 50% of the people.
Which I think is, again, why Alf needs to be back on television on a regular basis doing that.
Right. Alf's credo should be, I'm here to upset 100% of the people.
Pricking the pomposity.
Exactly.
There's 8 billion people in the world, 8 billion
Right.
opinions, and they're all wrong, quite frankly.
They're not listening to me.
No.
Except that Alf is good. That is a correct opinion. We have one final question. We have to ask you this because if we don't, people will say, "Why didn't you ask? Why did you chicken
Okay.
out on that one?" And it's this weird talking point in season 1 came out when we were doing these episodes, and it was, what do you think Alf's signature scent is? Like, what is the musk of Alf?
What does Alf smell like?
Yeah, what does Alf smell like?
Well, it's funny you should ask that. When we used to get requests for different products for merchandising, one of the companies that came to us, I don't know if you have it in your country, they have these little things that you hang off of your rearview mirror that like scents,
yeah.
different scents, like
Yeah,
a pine tree, and it's a pine
yeah.
scent and everything. Well, somebody wanted to market an Alf thing that they hang from the mirror, and I said we could do that, but it has to smell like Alf. And they were perplexed, like, okay, well, what does Alf smell like? And I said, well, I can't explain it to you. I'll just have to send you a first sample or something, and then you guys are gonna have to go with it and figure that out. So are you asking, what does Alf smell like when he's wet? What does Alf smell like when he's dry? There's a lot of variables here.
His signature scent, I guess, would be, if there was de somewhere.
He smells like Elon Musk.
I mean, it's a better right round to most people just say wet dog. So I think, yeah.
So all the hardline questions have been asked. Do you have any questions at all that you need to clarify, or anything that has been said in the past that you want to? Because this is your last chance. I'm going to give you one more shot.
Yes. What happened to the money that they got from selling that Ferrari in season 1?
I don't remember.
And Oxnard, is that still a very funny word?
That's an actual real town.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We looked it up.
Yeah.
We do the research
Yeah.
when we watch the
Yeah,
episodes.
I think he ended up smashing up that car, didn't he? So they had I think the money went for damages.
I'll tell you what we did want to ask was about the character of Jodie, the blind woman.
Yes.
Who appeared sort of 3 times, but then never appeared again.
Yeah.
She was a great character.
Oh yeah, she was a secretary in the on the show. She worked in the Andrea Covell. Her name was. Her name is. I guess I'm assuming she's still alive, and she was an actress, and she also worked in the front office, and I guess she came and she read for the part and she got it, and she was great with him. She was really really good with him. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's nice when Alf gets to speak to other people that aren't Tanners.
Yeah, that was that was the big challenge in the show, because obviously Alf's a shut-in, and we constantly trying to figure out ways that he can interact with people without giving away the fact he's an alien. So we had we opened him up to Larry, the psychiatrist, and we opened him up to the kid next door, Jake. And then Ann Mira, Kate's mother. We opened him up to. So there were a few that we did it for, but you couldn't keep doing that, and you would violate the world that Alf needed to be protected in. So it was a challenge to write it, because again, he's can only interact with so many people. So. That's why we're always trying to come up with clever ways of him being on the phone with somebody, or him being, incognito, or if the guy was drunk and they couldn't understand, no one's going to believe you anyway. I think we did an episode there with Kate's friend who had an alcohol problem. So,
And this isn't a hard-hitting question, because I think this is something you've talked about before, but is it right that the 5th season would have been Alf on an airbase, and it wouldn't have been set in the Tanners?
Yeah, it would have opened up, the Tanners would have still been involved, but it would have opened up Alf to that new world, the military world, where they were protecting him, but within the base, he was known. So yeah, that was Project Alf was intended to be a backdoor pilot, which never got picked up.
Were you happy with how that worked out as a film?
Not really. I mean, yes and no. I think we were criticized because the Tanners weren't in it. But I think that was an intentional writing decision, that we wanted to break Alf away from that world. Not that they wouldn't come back. I mean, we didn't kill them off or anything. We just said that they moved to Iceland. They were relocated by the Witness Protection Program. But it was. There was a lot of notes that were given at the time.
Was it harder to do something in 96 than it was in 86? Executive meddling and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, everybody, that's just indicative of the business. Whenever you do anything with a organization that's putting up the money, you've always got creative input from people that don't necessarily get it. By the time, the first season of Alf, we were getting network notes that were just ridiculous, and one of them was like, Alf shouldn't drink beer. So, well, he drank beer in the pilot. He's a bad influence on kids because he drinks beer. I said, he's 400 and something years old. He could drink as much beer as he wants.
Yeah,
and then you were getting all these notes like, well, he can't do that. It's a bad example. One of the bad ones was. Alf made a joke about putting the cat in the microwave, and apparently some kid did that. So we had to be careful about that. So anyway, by the second and third season, when we were successful, we pretty much told the network to go pound sand. We got it under control, and they pretty much left us alone at that point. But You know,
There was a TV show in Britain, the Hale and Pace Show, and they did the same joke. Cats spin microwave, and you would not believe the furor that exploded across the nation's tabloids. This is the end of the 80s, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But
it's 88.
I think if you suggest microwaving a cat in Britain, it's going to be curtains for you.
Honestly, they don't even do it. It's because they say, "Oh, we'll do this." Ha! And it's the shock of it. But
right.
I suppose that's the one thing. If anyone knows anything about Alf, it's cat eating.
Oh, we ate cats. Right. Yeah. Well, here's a funny thing too. That was another thing where we were trying to say, get a sense of humor. I mean, did they actually really believe that Alf ate cats? And at one time, Purina Cat Chow kind of approached us, and I thought it would be hysterical to have Alf as a spokesperson for Purina Cat Chow. I mean, that would be a great. You open up with a close up of Alf holding up a can of Purina, saying, and you superimpose underneath a leading cat expert, and and he's telling people to go out and buy Purina Cat Chow if you want a healthy, plumper cat or whatever. And they thought it was really, really, really funny, and the ad agency at the last minute they backed out and they said, "Oh God, no! There's a lot of cat owners out there won't get this at all. They're going to be really, really offended by it." So, unfortunately, they missed they missed the opportunity for something really hip and unique. Who better than Alf to sell cat food? I don't know.
I mean, again, I think that's the whole point. I think people still remember Alf being the guy
Right.
who liked cats, so you could still do it.
You can, but you don't know how they're going to take it. Like we've lost our sense of humor somewhere along the line.
This is true. Yeah. So there is one final question that I would like to ask.
Okay.
Is Jerry Stahl as much of a prick as he seems?
All right. I'm going to give you two words that best describes Jerry Stahl. Heroin addict. Okay.
Yeah.
This man made a career out of being a heroin addict, and wrote while he was under the influence of heroin, and capitalized on that, and had these weird and Jerry Stahl had. That's another thing that I've heard in interviews where he's talked about what it was like on the set of. Jerry Stahl was never on the set of Alf. He was never in the writer's room. Jerry Stahl was approached by Tom Patchett after Tom Patchett read an article that Jerry Stahl wrote in Playboy magazine, and he thought he was a very funny writer, and he was. He was very out there because he was a heroin addict, and Jerry Stahl would go to his dark little place and write these scripts and deliver them to our office in a manila envelope with his dark sunglasses and track marks or whatever. I don't know if he was clean back then. And we would take those scripts and we would, I don't think he wrote more than two anyway. And we would rewrite those scripts and make them appropriate because a lot of this stuff came back. It was really, really dark. And he had Alf as a dominatrix once in a leather suit with a ball gag and a woman. It was just, Anyway, he never had any input on the set or anything like that. Yet he made it look like he was there and he observed all of this. And so take it from me firsthand. Jerry Stahl was never. He actually turned it into a movie with Ben Stiller, and that was all fabricated in Jerry Stahl's mind. And I don't know how you become an expert on the show after having written one script or two.
Well, that does definitely check out with everything I assumed.
Yeah. So there are a lot of so-called experts that like to talk about the show, having had some experience on the show, meaning they were like one-time guest stars, or maybe they were recurring 2 or 3 times and everything. And all of a sudden, they know everything about the production of the show. They know how it was shot. They know about the problems on set and everything. And it's like they're just doing it to get the limelight of whatever moments they had on the show, whatever connection they had on the show. Yeah. They try to make it look like they're an expert on it, and I that kind of makes me upset too. And I think of who is this person here that's talking about what my motivation was and how it was done and what they have no way of even knowing that. It's sort of I guess it's all par for the course. I mean, you kind of expect that, but there was a lot of experts out there that talk that don't really know what they're talking about.
But yeah,
That's why I said when you guys had that chance. So I'm glad you get to clear the air a little bit.
yeah, very much happy to allow allow you to say whatever you want. Because we're in Britain, we can get away with it over here.
Right, exactly.
Well, it genuinely has been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate your diligence and you're big fans. I know that. That's why Mike and Al both told me, said, you got to do this. You got to do this. These guys are just crazy for Alf. So
And crazy, just in general. Just yeah.
Well, somebody said this. Well, where's the word fan? You're a fan. Where's that come from? From fanatic. Really, it's short for fanatic.
Yeah.
There's a thin line between hobby and obsession and mental illness. So
We cover all the bases.
We're a Venn, very much of all of us. We're in the middle, waving with our Alf shirts on, with our Alf wind socks.
yes.
Waving in the breeze.
We've got to get somebody to send us an Alf wind sock now.
You'll find it. You'll find it somewhere. There are a multitude of other things. Those are the two that came to mind. But the Alf mayonnaise was a lot of that stuff slipped by. I mean, a lot of unapproved. There was a lot of merchandise out there that was never approved, and these companies pulled fast ones on us and made things that we should never have made, or we never would have approved. But the windsock was just, oh my gosh, that was just horrifying.
Can't top that. Paul, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thank you, and yeah, if you absolutely desperate ever to talk to some random British people again, we'll happily do this whenever. You know how to get hold of us.
All right, guys. Well, thank you again, John. Ben, thank you. Bye-bye.